Michael, I'm going to summarize what we talked about today. Then I'm going to get your final thoughts. Boy, we covered. I kind of went in a whole bunch of different directions with you, and I thank you for dealing with me. So, how to turn freight data into audit-ready Scope 3 reporting with Michael Rentz. Regardless of what business you're in, if you have shipping containers, you are going to have to report on Scope 3 emissions. And there is a framework, and we talked a little bit about it, which is the Global Logistics Emissions Council, which is GLEC. They give you a framework for doing that, but they don't give you the tools. Gnosis gives you the tools to do that. And I mentioned this foundation that you guys built, 5-7 years ago, of the data, which is kind of from the life cycle of the container, or container life cycle management. You have that data, and all you're doing now is overlaying. So when we had problems with detention and demurrage, you guys had an overlay for compliance to OSRA 2022. OSRA 2022 didn't tell us how to do it. They told us we had to do it. Gnosis brought the solution. They brought the tech. And since you have all this technology, doing the compliance for this Scope 3 emissions is just another layer. And I do believe you guys just keep layering on, and your data gets better every year, and the the next layer gets added. And if a company came in and said, hey, we want to do this for you, we're an outside company or an outside technology, you would have to get Gnosis' help anyway, because they know when the container actually was received and how many free days you had. It's once you have that foundational data and it gets cleaner and cleaner every year, you have everything. You can just start layering, and it's amazing. If you're an engineer, if you're a business person, if you're a finance person, you want data, and you want it to be good data. We now know our AI models are only as good as the data we can feed it.
That's right.
So,
One thing on the data I think is critical. It's not static. And a lot of what we do, when I say we're fundamentally a data science company, is what I would say is like data excavation and data acquisition. And a lot of the most important data, the tribal knowledge, sits in those team members' heads. They've been doing it decades, and they communicate that via email, Excel spreadsheets. But a lot of what we do is provide solutions or tooling to replace that process. But we also expand the data aperture to where we can capture that data that's being transmitted to further enrich our model to increase like the data moat from like a data sovereignty perspective. So it's like you kind of alluded to it, it's an ever growing pool of data. We're getting more and more access to data, the more embedded we get with the big players across the industry.
right. And I think, we talked a little bit about the silos and the point systems. If you have these problems, you need to talk to Gnosis. So you have like that fragmented visibility, the point systems. If you have the data dark holes, black holes, whatever you want to call them, if you have a lot of dimension and demurrage issues, you need Gnosis. If you have like untrustworthy ETAs and you're trying to figure that out, Gnosis again is the solution. PO stuff that is also siloed. That's bring Gnosis in to help you there. And any of the financial discrepancies and overpayments that are so common in ocean shipping. And I don't think anyone's trying to rip you off. I just think it's a very complex business. That's where you need Gnosis. Those are traditionally what I've talked to you guys about. But now it's just one more thing, which is this Scope 3 audit and GLC, I guess, I won't say compliance because that's just the framework, but you guys bring the tools to actually make those things work.
100%.
Anyway, I'll make sure I put a link to your LinkedIn profile, a link to your website, any of the links you and your go-to-market team, along with those cool RV tour. I'll put those in the show notes. Final thoughts on the topic, Michael. Put a big old bow on this one.
We would love to talk to any and everyone. I think at this point, like you mentioned, if you touch a container or inventory in transit, goods, whatever it may be, and something's a pain in the butt or annoying you, or you're tired of doing the same thing over and over again and can't figure out how to get away from it, we're very good question askers and very good at listening, and we'd love to see if we can help in any way. And a lot of the times we do that where it doesn't cost you anything, where it's,
So who's your ideal customer, Michael?
BCOs, anybody moving a few hundred containers or more per year, are like really well within our sweet spot, from the top 5 importers in the world to 500 or more. And then any service provider, like we have data available, operational data to enhance what you're doing. We also have software for freight forwarders, drayage carriers. So that's a huge part of what we do as well. But at this point, we've built solutions for rail carriers, for ocean carriers, the container payment portal. So again, that's why I say, like, we solve your most difficult supply chain and logistics problems.
Yeah, I think we didn't say it necessarily here, but I think if you're listening and you have a problem that we didn't discuss, but it's related to containers, call Gnosis. because if most likely they already heard of it and they're working on it. But I talk to you guys every year, every other year. There's always a new layer. And so I think that each layer is basically a number of customers saying, hey, I got this problem. Can you help me?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Becomes the next service offering.
That's right. That is our business model, and to come full circle, we've never built a solution and looked for a problem. We didn't have the resources to do that. And we had to listen and build and deliver.